Well, we definitely will be virtual through winter quarter with hopes of starting to reopen in the spring. But like I said, we're monitoring it closely, like many schools are.
Great. I will speak Arabic for a little bit, Arabic for the student. أنا أرحب بالطلبة اللي انضموا ويانا، وإذا في أي سؤال ممكن تسأله حتى بالعربي عادي، وإحنا راح نقوم بترجمة السؤال إلى الإنجليزية. إذا في مشكلة في الصوت ولا شيء بس بلغونا على أساس إن إحنا نشتغل عليه، لأن في طالب قاعد يقول لنا في عنده مشكلة في الصوت أعتقد. فأي سؤال عندكم ممكن تسألونه، ممكن تدخلون conversation واحد one on one مع الجامعة اللي أنتم مهتمين فيها، وأي سؤال عربي إنجليزي ما في عندنا مشكلة. Mary, hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hello, Samah. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, Mary, tell us more about ALS.
So my name is Marie-Claude Savaldi, and I'm the VP of Government Relations at ELS in the US and Canada, and I'm in charge of the Middle East region and the GCC. And we've had a rough go at the situation, just like everyone else. We managed, however, to convert to online learning throughout the entire ordeal from March 1st all the way. It's still ongoing as a virtual program. But as of September 14th, we attempted to open 8 of our centers in the US and 2 of our centers in Canada. And so far, the attendance has been positively surprising, better than we anticipated. So we are very happy about that. And the enrollments keep coming in. Thank God the flights out of Saudi have been authorized for students on I-20s and for educational purposes. So that's a positive sign that's been very helpful. And we're very hopeful. We're just taking it just like everyone else, one day at a time. We anticipate to open up more centers come January, hopefully, if things continue to progress positively, but we're monitoring very closely before we make any decisions.
Great. This sounds good.
Thank you, Samah. Thank you for having us. And if there are any students that are online and have any questions in terms of English language learning in the US or in Canada, I'll be more than happy to help or answer any questions.
Sure. You're always helpful, Mary.
Thank you.
Melissa, tell us about the majors at your school.
Hi, yeah, so my name is Melissa. I am the Senior Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions at the University of Scranton. So we have over 70 undergraduate majors on campus, and then also 34 graduate majors on campus. So there's definitely a whole list of different majors to choose from when looking at our university. And they are also available on our website, and I can chat more individually about what majors you may be interested in. We have pre-health, pre-law advisory programs within our undergrad programs, faculty student research program opportunities, accelerated graduate programs if you go into our undergraduate programs. So like I said, there's a big list of programs to choose from that we can definitely talk more about if someone has questions directly to a certain program.
Good. Natasha.
Yes, hi, Samah.
Hi, how are you? How's everything? How is UK?
Yes, thanks very much for having me, Samah. As Samah said, my name is Natasha. I'm looking after our foundation programs and international year 1 programs, so pathways in total for our UK partner universities. And in the UK, just as the US and Canada, obviously they're dealing with a second spike of COVID. So right now we have blended learning. All our international study centers are actually open. So we are allowing the students the choice to actually travel to the UK and start the program there. They have to do 2 weeks quarantine, but we're looking after them in our student accommodation while they have to, so that they are secured, that they have all the services available to them during those 2 weeks. We have a blended learning system at the moment. So you can study either everything online, or you can, if you are in the UK at the center, then you can also choose to take 1 to 2 classes per week. Obviously, we're still having to be in line with social distancing measures. And so the students really have a limited time on campus, and more of the classes are virtual at the moment. But we also have a thing as a buddy system. So students that are studying right now online from their home country, and they're connected with students that have traveled to the UK and started there, so that they can exchange their experiences, and that the students really feel connected throughout, and that then is no one thinking that they have a disadvantage for not having traveled. I think the biggest key thing is that we're offering such flexibility at the moment because the situation is very uncertain. We don't want to have any student forced to travel or forced to just be online. So we're really working with the students individually on what their best study plan is for this year.
Great, great, great. Go for Catherine.
Morning.
Good morning, Catherine. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good, good. Very good. Catherine, tell us about the next intake. Is it in spring 2021 or fall 2021?
Yeah, so I'm representing St. Louis University. And so for us, we have an upcoming intake that will be for spring 2021. Obviously that's a smaller cohort, but we still are able to welcome students for spring as well. The larger group will be the fall students, so fall 2021. Our application just opened up in August, and rolling admission begins November 1st. So that is definitely already ongoing. So if you are more interested in applying for spring, that's an option. If you'd rather go for fall, that's an option as well. We always encourage students to apply by December 1st if possible. Simply because there are a lot of fantastic enriching programs like honors programs, scholars programs, competitive scholarships, and things like that that students can apply for if they make that December 1st deadline. And that would be for fall specifically. But yeah, you can apply anytime, and we'll be taking a look at applications and notifying students for fall as early as November 1st. So that's what it looks like for us at the moment.
Great, great. Scott, hi. Hi, how are you?
Good, Sama. Thank you so much for having me here today.
It's our pleasure, and thank you for being here today. Scott, tell me, why should the student choose your school? Why?
Certainly. So students have a lot of different options when considering universities. And as Cara was mentioning, universities in Canada have a very high standard. And I think that for a student's decision to study in Canada, I think they're making a great decision. And as Carol mentioned, it would really be based on a student's interest in terms of their academics, what type of university that they're looking for, city versus rural, and so on. So there's lots of different options when considering an education in Canada. Dalhousie University itself is located in the province of Nova Scotia, which is in the east coast of Canada. We're known as Canada's ocean playground because really you're close to the water wherever you may go. So from the classroom to one of our many beaches, we're about 30 minutes away. We are a mid-size, research-intensive university that offers over 200 different programs and 13 faculties. And so we have faculties that include computer science, sciences, engineering, management, commerce, and many other options for students. We also offer students lots of opportunities for experiential learning. whether that be through a co-op placement or in the classroom co-curricular activities outside. Students have lots of opportunities to connect their learning to career options. And so we have 19,000 students at Dalhousie University, and that includes 62% that are coming from outside of the province, and 24% are international students. So we have over 4,000 international students representing 115 different countries from around the world. So we hope that we're able to connect with some students today and let them know all about the different options that Dalhousie University offers for their education.
Hopefully. Calvin, hi.
Hi, Sama. How are you today?
Good, good, good. How is everything?
Everything's good, thank you. Everything's good.
Calvin, which is the most popular program do you have?
At my particular institution?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I represent Carleton University. We're located in Ottawa. It's Canada's capital city. We're in the province of Ontario. We're about a 4-hour drive from Carl and Shannon down in Toronto area, and we're about an 1.5-hour drive from Kate over in Montreal. Carleton's a comprehensive university, so we offer a wide range of programs, and everything we offer, we do well. Amongst the Kuwaiti students, with the Kuwaiti Scholarship Program, obviously engineering is our most popular program because it's what we're approved for on the Kuwaiti Scholarship list. We offer 13 different areas of study within engineering. Aerospace and mechanical are the 2 most popular that we offer. However, we do have civil, communications, sustainable and renewable energy, as well as environmental engineering, which is becoming more and more relevant in today's world and is a program that we really like to highlight within our engineering department. That being said, we are also known for areas of computer science, as well as the health sciences. And of course, we are in Canada's capital city. So any sort of public affairs program, journalism, political science, international affairs, the resources that students have access to in this city, they sometimes can't find in other cities simply because of what exists in the capital. So I would say our most popular program amongst Kuwaitis is definitely engineering, but we have 22 different degree programs students can research, and I'm happy to talk to about later on today.
Okay, good, good, good. Any schools that offer full-time online master? I think if we are talking about an online master, it's prohibited in Kuwait. So there's a question about the online education, but the online degree in Kuwait is prohibited. So I don't think, unless you are from outside of Kuwait.
Hello everyone, this is Venera. Sorry, I was having some trouble with some technical stuff here. I would like to first announce that the chat rooms are open and our webpage is now published. So all the students who wish to interact with any of the universities can go to the website and start chatting with them. You can have your documents shared, you can have more details, you can watch their videos, and you can download their handbooks as well. So please go ahead. I'll be sharing a link in the chat where you can go. And you already have that link in your emails and messages also. Melissa, I think there's a student trying to enter your chat room. He's trying to interact with you. Can you please see?
Yes, I will go in there now. Sorry.
Maybe we have a question from a YouTube comment. How can a student apply for English language programs? And if he applies for an English language program, does it guarantee him an admission at the university?
Zunaira, is this addressed to me or?
Yeah, Mary, you can go for it.
Okay, so for the student who's asking, yes, we do. We have 650 university partners that accept the completion of ELS 11112, and then you would be able to matriculate to the major and university of your choice, depending on where you would like to study, whether in Canada or the US. And if you'd like to communicate with me in a chat room, I'll be more than happy to help out in any way. We do still offer our online program if it is allowed by the Kuwaiti government and you can enroll right now from Kuwait. Or if you'd like to present yourself personally, we have 8 centers that are open in the US and 2 that are open in Canada. And I'll be more than happy to share the details of the locations and what you need to do.
Great. Natasha?
Well, it really depends because we don't really offer alone standing English programs. So for us, we only offer English programs in connection with our foundation programs or any other pathway programs. So the student has to have a certain level of English already, and he has to have an IELTS. So it's a little bit different than just English language courses. I know that Kuwaitis sometimes go for a year to the UK, but that would not be through us. So there they would really have to go to an independent English school and do intensive English for 1 year. Then they can come back. Typically, they take the IELTS and then they can apply to our foundation programs for September 2021. If they're just a little bit lower than our IELTS requirements, they can do an English language preparation, which is between 12 weeks or 24 weeks, depending on their English level, but it would really be only in combination with the foundation program as well. So it's not an alone standing English.
Good. And there is a questions about
Samah, I think Carl had something to say.
Yes, Carl.
Yeah, sorry, if you don't mind, I'll just add to that. For at least in terms of like the Canadian context, often admissibility to a program not often, always admissibility to a specific undergraduate program at a university will be based on your academics in addition to your English ability. So many of our universities, we also offer English language programs at our university, but you will need to have the academics from your high school in order to get into the program that you're interested in regardless. So it wouldn't be typically a way of doing an English program as some kind of shortcut to maybe circumvent the actual admission requirements for the program. It'll always be in conjunction. It'll be your academics from high school, for example, and your English proficiency. If you have the academics in high school, then there are English options for you at many of your universities, or with what Marie was mentioning. But again, you're still gonna need those academics in order to get into the program. And that can mean things like prerequisite courses. So for example, it's not unusual for universities to require chemistry, physics, and mathematics in order to get into our engineering programs. So that will always still need to be there. And then if you have all of that, then the English language portion, there's ways to do that. But you'll always need those academics from your high school to get into the program you're interested in.
Okay, great. Mark? Mark, are you there? I think he cannot reach us. So there is a question here is how can international student feel comfortable in the city or the country that he want to study in? It's open for everyone. If anyone want to answer this question. I go for Scott.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay, Natasha. Okay, go for it.
No, I just wanted to say that we're obviously a pathway provider that offers that extra year of study, such as a foundation program before they entering the bachelor degree. And the foundation program is a whole lot more than just getting on top of the academics, but it's also about the whole onboarding process. So obviously, when you are in a campus situation, when you are in a smaller type setting, international study center, you are with students that are all from abroad, all from international background. It gives such an environment that you have that immediate family support system inside the classroom. These, when you're going into public university, they can be quite overwhelming when you move there for the first time and you're moving to a foreign country for the first time. So a pathway in that sense sometimes can give that extra comfort because you're only studying with students that are in the same exact situation. These international study centers are also under another level of security because obviously the students are a bit younger than the students that are entering the bachelor degree directly. And then obviously that's also, the setting of the city that you're going into. The bigger the city, of course, the different the environment will be. If you are a student that is a little bit timid, then maybe it is better to have a campus location inside a country rather than going to a city campus. That can be quite overwhelming. Maybe you can choose a campus that is close and connected to a large city. Also, you can check cities that have good connections with flying back and forth. I know, for example, for the UK and the Middle East, they're very well connected. There are direct flights to Manchester, direct flights to London. So if you're choosing then campus locations or universities around there, but then maybe in a smaller area and you're just like taking into that commute, that might give you a more sense of safety then as well. That and plus just the smaller type classrooms, having students in the same situation, and us as specialty, looking after international students onboarding in the UK, that can give a sense of safety as well. When it comes to the whole COVID situation at the moment, we're definitely looking after our students. We make sure that we have pickup services at the airports for the students. And we also make sure that during the 2 weeks quarantine, that they're being looked after, that they have all the services covered, that they don't really have any need to go outside or have to break the quarantine rules. We make sure that they have extra tutors, virtual tutor hours when they are online, and student services so that they have really looked after. We also have a welfare team on all of our international study centers. So if there's a student struggling significantly with the whole current situation, then we're looking after them, looking at options to possibly fly back home for the time being, booking flights, rescheduling. So we are definitely there to support them with whatever they need during the current circumstances.
Great. Shannon.
Hi, Sama. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I didn't hear you today.
I'm here.
Yeah, tell me more.
Sure. I'd love to add more to what Natasha was just talking about. In Canada, we are public universities, but our universities are communities, and all of the fees that students pay include so many services that I would encourage students get involved in, because I think that really helps them create that sense of community and just feel like that's where they belong. And this comes from everything from free peer tutoring services to international student advisors, academic advisors that are really there to help you. But we also have, most of our institutions have health centers on campus where students can go and get medical assistance if they're not feeling well, pharmacies on campus. But we also are really connected to our local communities. So, if students are looking to, look for a local mosque in the area, perhaps we can help them with recommendations on where to go for that. Our campuses, I think pretty much every campus in Canada, we have both non-denominational prayer rooms as well as Muslim prayer rooms, and those are right there on campus, so students can just stop there in between classes. We have hundreds of student clubs at our universities, which is really exciting because students can get involved in so much. I mean, we have cultural clubs, we have religious clubs, we have just fun clubs, we have program clubs. We have, some universities have Quidditch clubs on campus, and students can just play a fun game of Quidditch. Or, maybe a student wants to go into a certain profession, like they want to become an accountant. They can join the accounting society. That's that's part of our university, and they can really get involved and, you know, go to lectures and networking events. So I think, you know, there's a lot there for students to get involved in, and I think that's the easiest way for a student to sort of feel comfortable and adjusted and really part of that community, because they are, right? There's a reason that we love having international students on our campuses.
Great. Carl, what's their chance? Most of the scholarship to Canada this year from Kuwait is to study medicine. What's their chances to study medicine in Canada?
That's a bit of a difficult question. So there's, I'd also be curious if it's for medical schools. So those medical school, maybe I'll provide a little background context for medical schools in Canada. Medical schools are postgraduate degrees. So it's first you're completing a 4-year university undergraduate degree and then going on to medical school afterwards. Typically, the number of spots that are available for international students in those medical schools are quite limited. But I understand there is, I believe, a government-to-government agreement for those medical schools. However, I am unfortunately not an expert on those. I'm an expert on our undergraduate programs, like our biomedical science program or kinesiology and health science. And those are the types of programs that in Canadian universities help students prepare to go on to medical school. But specifically for medical school in Canada, I apologize, I'm not totally sure. However, I can, if any students are interested in that, reach out and we can put you in contact with some of the teams that might be more familiar with that with Canadian universities. I'll also provide some additional context. I believe across the entire country of Canada, there's about 15 medical schools in total. So it will be select universities that have these special arrangements. So it might be like the University of Toronto, or I think Dalhousie may have, Dalhousie, you guys have a medical school, right, Scott? Right,
yes, we
so
do.
that,
yes.
Yeah, so that would be, I don't know, Scott, if I know that you're also focused on undergraduate student recruitment, so I don't know if there's any additional context you might be able to add.
I think you've given a lot of context, Carl. We do have a medical school, but similarly, I'm not an expert on our graduate or professional programs, which medical school is considered to be. And so same with Carol, I'd be more than happy to share any questions that students may have or with the experts at Dalhousie.
Yeah.
Hey.
Sorry, we can't provide more context there, Sama. I apologize.
Katie, hi.
Hello, how are you, Sama?
Hi, how are you? How's everything?
It's everything's going great.
Good. So tell us more. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely. So hi, everyone. My name is Kate, and I work at Concordia University. Concordia is in Montreal, Quebec. So for those of you who don't know, Quebec is actually the French-speaking province in Quebec or in Canada, but Concordia is fully in English. So if you don't know any French, don't let it scare you at all. If anything, it's a really great opportunity to be in an environment where you may want to take an introductory French class, but it's not mandatory. Everything's done in English. In terms of our school itself, Concordia has a lot of different programs, similar to Carleton. Engineering would definitely be our most popular one with Kuwaiti students. We have anything from aerospace to mechanical, electrical, civil, building, and maybe missing one or two there, and some really great computer science programs as well. Concordia, about 20% of our students are actually international students. So somebody was asking earlier about integrating into the community, and I think that's something that at Concordia and all Canadian universities we do really well, and we're really proud of, is those support services that are available for students, where they can be comfortable coming into Montreal or Ottawa or Oshawa or Halifax, Toronto, wherever it is, and know that even if maybe they're the only student from their school in Kuwait, for example, that's coming to Montreal, I can guarantee they're going to meet other Kuwaiti students and other students from around the world. So it does create a really comfortable environment, I think, for students as they arrive on campus and as they get involved in the campus community, like Shannon was talking about.
Great. I will speak in Arabic for a little bit. بالنسبة حق الطلبة إذا في مشكلة في اللغة وأي أحد يحتاج إلى ترجمة بس قولوا لنا، ترى ممكن نترجم إذا في شيء مش مفهوم أو تحتاجون إلى أي معلومة. باللغة العربية عادي، حتى باللغة العربية نستقبل الأسئلة، ما في مشكلة. So back to English. So Mary.
Yes, Samar.
Yes. I'm talking. Give us more about the branches of ELS and America.
So because ELS is mainly hosted on university campuses, we're having to abide by the university policies re-COVID and when they decide it's safe enough to operate on campus. So we're really in close communication with our host universities to decide which centers we can open and which we cannot. Right now, we're open in Tampa, we're open in Melbourne, we're open in Cincinnati, we're open in Cleveland, we're open in New York, Manhattan, in Houston, Texas, and in Philadelphia. And it's only because the universities have allowed us to open and operate face-to-face. We are taking every precautionary measure that is imposed on all universities and English language schools. And we're making sure that the distancing is in place. All the students and the teachers and the staff are wearing masks throughout their tenure at the center. So it's a tedious process, but we know that the kids are a lot happier to be attending face-to-face because they really get the full experience of what they're actually there to accomplish. So we're hoping that more universities will open up in the spring or the winter so that we can open up more centers and gradually welcome more students, hopefully.
Great. Natasha, now if the student have his IELTS test and he get 5.0, then what's the next step after he get his score from IELTS?
Yeah.
If he wants to study in UK?
So for most Kuwaiti students, they've either done a Thanawiya or they're doing American diploma. They will definitely have to look into a foundation program first. So with an IELTS of 5, they can start most of the foundation programs. It's just really important that they also have a 5 in writing. I know that is sometimes a little bit, it can be sometimes a little bit of an issue. So they need to make sure that those subcategories in the IELTS are met as well. But if they do have that and they have their transcripts ready, then they can apply for foundation programs starting in January, so not too far away. I know sponsorships were just announced now at the beginning of October. So there's a lot of Kuwaiti students right now applying, and they're applying for our programs mainly for January intake, and they would finish up then in end of August, and their bachelor degree would start then in September 2021. They have the option right now, if they don't feel safe to travel. Obviously, I mean, we're still a couple months out. We see a lot of Kuwaiti students wanting to travel, so they can go to campus, but again, it's a blended learning, or they can even choose to do at least one semester online to, you know, wait out the situation for a bit.
Okay, good. So, so most of the university now is online, I think, for this semester, I guess.
I think I mean, for us in the UK, everyone has blended. They have the option of being on campus and they have the option of doing it online. But even if they're on campus, it's blended. So they will also have some online courses because of the social distancing measures. So all large lectures are not taking place. It's only small seminars that are taking place at the moment.
Okay. Carl, is it the same thing like in Canada?
Yeah. For the Canadian context, all of our universities are online or remote delivery. So just to give like the York University example, for this fall, we have about 3,000 courses in total that are being taught, and 75 are in person. And those 75 are 3rd and 4th year lab courses that must be in person in order to complete. And I think it'll be a similar thing. And maybe got some nods from my Canadian colleagues. Pretty much a similar situation for you guys as well. And then for the winter semester, we're expecting it to be also online and remote And again, everything that we do, and this, I'm sure this is for all my colleagues at all the universities, everything we're doing is in conjunction with our local health authorities, with like a state or provincial governmental health authorities, federal health authorities, in order to make sure that our students are safe. And that's the #1 priority. So that's how all of the decision making is being done. So we expect, hopefully, maybe, to be back in person for next for summer semester, which would be next May, or next September, which is the fall semester 2021, is what we expect. But just if situations may be different, I don't want to speak universally. Like if there's something unique or different, please feel free.
Hey, there's Sama. It's Mark Kopensky. I'm back. Sorry that.
Okay, good. Welcome back.
I'm doing a juggle today, you guys. I'm also on a panel in London on financial assistance. So talk about being global. Hey, Sama, I'm curious, what is the situation in Kuwait? I mean, what are the students able to access in terms of, testing? Are they all online, or are some of the students studying on the ground, or what's going on there? Because that would really be helpful to all of us.
The whole situation here in Kuwait is online system. Till now, it's online. Offline is prohibited here in Kuwait because of, the whole situation. So mostly there is a decision from Ministry of Higher Education for all the students that they can start their online study, whatever it takes. It depends on the school that they will study in. So the whole situation till now is online.
I'm kind of curious of the other panel members, because we've got UK, Canada, US. I hope I'm not missing anybody, but are you guys finding that you're going to need to be flexible on admission requirements and perhaps not require some things you would normally require? I know, I think Katie from St. Louis University, which is pretty popular school, I saw something on your website, Katie, where you're waiving things like SAT exams and stuff. Is that true?
Yep, exactly. So a lot of the US universities, I think, are going this way of no longer requiring SAT or ACT scores. Many of us in higher education have felt that that's a good thing, and have been hoping for that for a long time. And now we're moving in that direction. So for St. Louis University specifically, starting fall 2021, we're no longer going to be requiring SAT or ACT scores for admission or scholarship consideration. So that's a really big step for us. We will still be looking for, some sort of proof of English language proficiency, like an IELTS or a TOEFL or those tests you're all familiar with. We also do accept Duolingo, which is nice for students because they can take it, from the safety of your own home. You don't have to go out and worry about any of that. So that's a big development for us. We're really excited about that. And yeah, looking good for us for fall 2021.
Katie, I have a question for you. Entrepreneurs, you are in the merit list in Kuwait for entrepreneur. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so our entrepreneurship program is a really fantastic program. Like you said, it's highly ranked. So really I think the background for that is that our business school is a really fantastic school in general. We have lots of funding for to sort of enrich the experience of our students. The city of St. Louis is a really great place for entrepreneurs because it is so affordable. It's a really sort of great incubator for people that have big ideas that wish to start a business, try something new. So the city of St. Louis serves as a great place to be an entrepreneur. And that kind of feeds into the fact that our program is such a great program for students. So many opportunities to learn, get firsthand experience and things like that. So if there are students that are interested in the entrepreneurship program, definitely get in touch. I'd love to talk to you more about that. Thank you for the question.
Great. We need to know more about the popular majors in the UK or in Canada or in the US. It's open question for everyone.
I mean, if we're talking about popular programs, it's definitely engineering. Anything in science, we have a lot of medicine applications now from Kuwaiti students, dentistry, of course, but then it's also computer science, merit list, pharmacy programs. For the merit list, there are a couple universities, Cardiff, Sheffield, that have top-ranked programs in computer science, engineering degrees in general. So I do see once in a while the nutrition inquiry and sports science, but it does seem to be more in the direction of engineering in general for the UK.
Kate and Shannon, you would like to add to that? The most popular programs at your universities?
I was just going to add that in Canada, I would say it's pretty much similar to what Natasha was saying, is that engineering, computer science tend to be the most popular. Business is quite popular as well. All of the Canadians who are here, we all have engineering, business, and computer science. So if you're interested in that, you have some really great options. But of course, anything in the natural sciences are great as well. At Concordia, and I think, again, with my Canadian colleagues as well, with the natural sciences, there's often a very hands-on component to it. So getting lab experience. So if you have a Biology 101 class, for example, every week you're going to have an in-lab component where you take the information that you learned in your classroom and then apply it in a hands-on scientific experiment kind of way. So it's a really great way to get some hands-on learning. That would apply as well, actually, to many of our engineering, computer science, and business programs, and something in Canada that's called co-op, which is short for cooperative education. And again, all of my Canadian colleagues here offer some sort of this program where students get the opportunity in their degree to have paid work experience that's directly related to their program of study, which is really popular, particularly among international students, because it's a fairly unique experience to both be studying and getting professional experience that they can use as they're applying to jobs after they graduate. So examples at Concordia would be students in engineering who are working for companies like Bombardier or CN Rail, or other large engineering firms, a lot of the big four consulting firms, or small businesses as well. There's a lot of opportunities for students to get some unique professional experiences. So on top of the academic programs themselves, I would say it's really popular for students to go into a co-op program like that, where they get some of that paid professional work experience.
Great. Calvin, I have a weekend. What shall I do there? I'm a student and I have a weekend.
You're a student, you have a weekend, and you're wondering what you can get up to here in Ottawa. Is that the question?
Exactly.
Okay, well, I got a very busy itinerary for you, let me tell you. We have, again, we are Canada's capital city, so there's a lot to do in the city. We are a major tourist destination here in our country. So, you know, there's so much to do. Honestly, Salma, I've lived here for 7 years now and I still haven't done everything. I don't know where to start. We have a lot of major museums and different areas to check out. An always popular place is, of course, visiting our Parliament buildings up on the hill and seeing where some of the decision-making takes place in a G7 capital city. There's all sorts of festivals, my favorite, of course, being the food festivals. Those take place throughout the entire year. In the winter, we have a canal. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it freezes over to become the world's largest and longest, skating rink. So it's 8.2 kilometers long. It goes right by our campus, and students can head out and try ice skating if they've never tried it before. We have a student services office that will assist them with this process. We take them out on weekends. I've been a part of it before. It's a lot of fun. But the city of Ottawa has an endless list of things to offer students over the weekend. Those are just some of the highlights I can think of off the top of my head. So I hope that helps. And Salma, if you ever find yourself here, I'd be more than happy to take you around for a weekend and have an action-packed weekend with fun activities.
I'm planning to come to Canada, by the way, but waiting for them to give us, the decision that we can travel. So I'm planning. Especially, I want to visit Niagara Falls.
Yes, of course, a Canadian staple, that's for sure. It's certainly something you'll have to check out.
Shannon, are you there? Hi.
Hi, I am here.
How about the weather? over there?
The weather, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent question. Canada gets such a bad reputation for our weather, but I think what a lot of people don't understand is that we have 4 very distinct seasons. So yes, we have winter. I won't lie to you. It's cold. There's snow. But one thing about winter is that our buildings are prepared for winter. So there's heating everywhere. Our infrastructure, the plows come out. The city sends plows out to plow the road before we even wake up in the morning. So we're really built to deal with winter. But then we also have summers, and people don't always realize that our summers in parts of Canada can be upwards to 35, 40 degrees Celsius on a fairly consistent basis. And that's one of the things, whenever I say that to people, they're always quite surprised about. And then we have spring and fall. It's fall right now. Fall is my favorite because the weather's a little bit cooler. It's really beautiful in Canada in the fall. But we also, because we have these 4 distinct seasons, we really live for, these different types of weather. So, in the summer, there's so many great outdoor festivals that happen. We spend a lot of time on the water. There's beaches in Canada. We go camping. So we really take advantage of that. But then in the winter, we do as well. You can go skiing or snowboarding or tobogganing. A lot of our campuses have ice rinks on them. We have 2 ice rinks on my campus, and there's free public skating every day at lunchtime. And so the students will go over and go ice skating during their lunch. And it's so fun to be able to see, particularly international students that come from warm countries, be able to take advantage of living in Canada and, going out and doing some of these activities that they might not do in their home country. And that's one of the advantages, I think, of studying abroad, is you get to try things out that you might not get to try out at home. So I always say, don't be scared of the weather. We learn to deal with it, and it's not that scary.
Okay, good.
Shannon, I would like to ask, how do the students play Quidditch?
I don't have Quidditch at my school, but I believe, Kate, do you have Quidditch at your school?
We might. Anytime I've seen it at universities or photos of it at universities, this is going to sound ridiculous because it is. They have brooms and then run around the field with their brooms, and then some version of I don't know exactly how Quidditch even.
Yeah, I think
Harry Potter, but yeah,
it's like what you see in Harry Potter. You're just running instead of flying, I think.
Yeah,
it's not as exciting because you're not flying, but the broom is integral.
The broom is essential. So we have a reasonably competitive Quidditch team here at York. So it's essentially, whoever has seen Harry Potter, you're running with the broom between your legs as if you were flying. And then you are using the quaffle to try and score points. But then there's also someone running around. That's the golden snitch that needs to be caught. And there's various points distributed for it. But the snitch isn't, I can go into more detail. If anyone wants specific details about that, first of all, lots of great resources on YouTube to watch live or past Quidditch matches. But also send me a message. I'm deep into the Harry Potter world, so I'm happy to chat about that on the side.
So, Scott, which favorite sport team in your city?
Well, that's a great question. So Dalhousie has a great sports program. And so students can join at various levels. They may be interested in joining for recreation and be part of their dorm's sports team, or they could also play varsity sports here. So we have lots of different programs that they compete on a high level nationally. And so, for example, our men's basketball team last year participated in the finals. And if I'm not mistaken, Calvin, it was against Carleton University last year, right? And,
yes, it was.
Yeah, so Carleton was the champion, but that's just an example of the high level of sports that we offer. Certainly, as most Canadian cities, hockey, both men's and women's, is very popular on campuses. Basketball, soccer, and so on. So, but there's a great variety of sports that students can get involved with at different levels. Like I say, if it's recreation or if they want to play in a more competitive league, such as varsity.
Great. Wait, we didn't hear you. Long time.
Sure, I can talk about our sports a little bit.
Exactly.
I was in a chat, so I was kind of going to went back and forth. So we are Division I in the United States, so we play at the top level. We do not have U.S. football, but the Seahawks Stadium is literally walkable from campus. When there's games, we can hear them. We have a trolley that actually goes down to our sports district, which has the Sounders, which is one of the best soccer teams in the United States. I mentioned the Sounders. We have professional roller derby, which is a lot of fun, women's roller derby. We just got a National Hockey League franchise, so that'll be opening up very soon. And being a D1 school, we're mainly known for basketball and soccer, but we have 11 D1 sports, 6 for women, 5 for men. So we are competitive. It's a lot of fun, brings a lot of school spirit, a lot of great events connected to it, especially if you're alumni. It really brings everyone together. And our actually, a lot of you might be familiar with the Space Needle, but we used to play just right down by the Space Needle for our basketball team. So it's a really good time.
Great. Catherine, sport. We need to know more about sport.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Seattle University, we're also a Division I school. So Wade explained a little bit about what that means. But I would say that there is a lot of school pride on campus. We have a really silly mascot, which is called the Billiken. People don't really know what that is. If I can, I'll show you a picture. But it's a little gnome-like creature, and our students really love it. It's quite unique. I guess that's the best way to say it. And so you'll see a lot of students, wearing their SLU gear. We're all in blue. They like to call the people. So we have designated students when we have sports games that are called SLUnatics, and they're designed to, get the crowd excited, get the students involved. All that to say, school sport is big for us. We have lots of the same schools that the other schools have been, the same sports that the other schools have been mentioning. Basketball, soccer, tennis, all of those, are ones that we offer to both men and women. But yeah, sports is big for us. And we also do offer athletic scholarships. Various, different sports teams have different budgets and different things going on in that way. But yeah, sports is big for us. And if you are a student athlete, definitely let me know.
Good, great. And how about accommodation? What's the average price for accommodation if students is looking for accommodation?
Is that one for me?
Yes.
Okay. So our average accommodation is around $13,000 a year. We do require all of our first and second year students to live on campus. So that means that, we have a really strong community of those first and second year students, allowing them to get to know one another, have sort of that really integrated campus feel. And the 13,000 is an average, so it could be a little less or a little more depending on which residence hall you enter and what type of living you choose. But that's about what it is for us.
Okay. Wade, same question, please.
We have many, the first 2 years on campus, you're required to live on campus. We're about, with everything included, I believe we're about 12,000 per year, and that's room and board and everything. You can have different options. That is, we do have some single rooms. We have up to triples, which really helps with the cost. Some students say, why so much? And the fact of the matter is most people want to live on campus because the neighborhood we are in, it's actually better to live on campus than to live off. Being so central in Seattle too, it gives you access to a lot of things. We build a lot of learning living communities and themed communities. So that's a good way to connect with other people. Our Residence Life program is very active. and a lot of our school traditions are run out of that. Was there more to the accommodations questions? We do, all the meal plans are involved. We have, I believe, 7 different different cafes and restaurants on campus. We have vegan options, and we tend to source locally and organically. And we're a gold and platinum certified school for sustainability. So that's something that's very important to us.
And how about the weather? Wait.
You know, Seattle gets an interesting reputation. I think it's because every movie and TV show that's made about here or for here, it just shows it's raining all the time. and it's actually, we're kind of a moderate, we're moderate in climate. I would say we have more overcast during the winter than the downpouring rain. New York gets more rain than us. Many other places gets more rain than Seattle. It's just the overcast kind of gives us that reputation. So that's a lot to do with Hollywood. Thanks, Sleepless in Seattle. So, and but we're a moderate climate. Our winters don't get too cold. Our summers don't get too hot. If you want to go to the snow or something, we have mountains right next to us with the ski resort. The ocean is right. We're right on the sound. So we have all those activities, lots of national parks in the area. But I would kind of say that in some ways we have 2 seasons. We kind of have summer where we can go literally months with no rain, very beautiful. And then we have more the winter season, which is more overcast. Being from the Northwest, I see it as like a nice blanket over everything. I find it comforting, and you should be studying in the winter anyway. So, but it is not a downpour rain all the time. Actually, when it does rain, it tends to be more just a mist. So, I'm not saying there's no rain, but it's not what's projected out there.
Don't tell me that my first experience in the black ice was in Seattle.
Oh yeah, we have black ice.
Right? Yeah, yeah. It was my first time ever to try it. It was in Seattle to drive a car, and that kind of wow. It was it was a nice experience for me. A huge joke.
Yeah, when students come, we actually tell them that it's probably best that they don't bring a car because we have such good public transportation. And it's kind of expensive to store a car and everything. And in the back of my mind, I always think, and we get black ice.
Thank you. And you didn't tell me before I go there. Nobody told me about it. So I got the experience by myself.
I'm glad you're okay.
No, it was good. It was a good experience. Off air, I will tell you what happened. So, Carl, how about the weather, Carl?
So we were very fortunate. Shannon gave a fantastic summary of Canadian weather and or weather across the country, specifically in Toronto. We have, again, 4 very different seasons. In the summer, it can get up to 35, 40 degrees Celsius. The fall is absolutely stunning right now. The leaves are like a glowing like yellow or electric red, which is so typically in a normal year right now, I would be traveling all through the Middle East. And then often for the last like 4 or 5 years, I've missed the fall colors. So to be honest, I would much rather be in Kuwait speaking with everyone in person, but it is nice to see the colors changing on the trees. In the winter, oh yes, we do get cold. And where we are in Toronto, people often forget we're on one of the largest freshwater lakes in the world. So we do get a good amount of lake effect snow coming into the city. But that's part of the fun. Like it's a winter playground, really. You go out and you go sledding, you go ice skating, you take a stroll in the park. We have a beautiful green space in Toronto that is quite stunning regardless of the season that you're in. And then beyond the weather, I mean, indoors, it's always a beautiful 21, 22 degrees Celsius. And when you head outside, you put on a nice toque. A toque is what we call like the winter hat with a little pom-pom on top here in Canada. You put on a good warm jacket, you put on some nice boots, and you're ready to go. But it's what we find, like that's maybe the number one question that we get. It's just like, how am I going to survive this cold winter? And then we find students quickly adapt and then start to really enjoy the difference, like in maybe in what they've experienced before. I mean, to be honest, I spend a lot of the winter sitting and watching Netflix as well, just like everybody else. But it's kind of a balance too, right? But it's an initial concern from many students, but not at all once you adapt. And once you hit like February, you're a regular Canadian at that point.
Okay, Natasha, if I want to study in UK, what do I have to prepare for?
So I think the biggest thing for Kuwaiti students is that most of the time they're coming from Thanawiya or American curriculum, and the British curriculum is a little bit different, where, you know, the American system in Thanawiya is more based on recognized learning, and the British is more on critical thinking, really challenging, you know, the stats or, you know, the theories that are there already. And so students, you know, they have to write a whole lot more essays, assignments, where, you know, the struggle is with a lot of Kuwaiti students as well with the way that they're learning languages here in the Middle East. It is more by listening and speaking rather than by the grammar and the writing and the reading. So what I would recommend is just doing a lot of English reading, English literature, and also just getting in the habit of writing everything in English so that you're really kind of getting used to it. If you're struggling a little bit again with it, then the foundation program will be a preparation for it anyway, because you're not jumping into the bachelor degree directly. You're jumping first into the foundation program, where we're going through all the how to do proper research, how to do right references, and all of that will be done during the foundation program. But while you're already back home, you can really prepare yourself by really getting into the English literatures already back home. And then it would also be good to just connect with students. All of the universities, their websites, they have a platform where you can speak to an ambassador of the university and you can connect with them, find out what the current students, how to prepare yourself properly, what you need to think of when you're going over there. We as a pathway provider, we will prepare you as well during the summertime. So, you know, the Kuwaiti students also have the tendency to apply quite late. So like in, you know, July, August, we get the majority of applications, and then in September, they're going already on campus. So it'd be good if they're actually starting already in the beginning of the year, and then really using the summertime to prepare with us. Also, you know, looking into various things that they can study, that they can look into, what they can do research on the university, so that they're really prepared. Because there's also such great connections between the Middle East and the UK, I would always recommend to go there in the summertime. I know Kuwaitis go there a lot. What you guys are saying about Canada, the winter and all Netflix, this is what happens here in the Middle East during the summertime, because it's way too hot, way too hot. We're all staying inside anyway. So I always call it like the upside down winter here in the Middle East. And so a lot of Kuwaiti students, they go to the UK anyway during the summer, or to Europe. So I would recommend visit the campus, have a look around, speak to some current students. There will definitely be other Kuwaiti students. Connect with them to find out how to prepare yourself the right way.
Great. Kelvin?
Yes?
Yeah. How should I prepare myself as a student?
Yeah, so as a high school student, I think what's key to success in the application process is maintaining open communication with whoever oversees the students' transcripts and documents. I think students oftentimes apply for universities and they're so excited with the application process, they sometimes forget to inform those that will be providing them with the documents we require. So when a student applies, we do require their transcripts, their grades from usually their previous 3 years of study, as well as their grades from their current year of study. And oftentimes students don't have these grades. So I think one thing that a student can do to prepare is to maintain open communication with their guidance counselor or their principal or their head of school or whoever oversees those transcripts so that they know where or what's needed and when it's needed. So often we're delayed with students when it comes to requesting transcripts because students don't always have them or don't always have open communication and the means of getting them in a timely manner. Aside from that, I think myself and I mean, everyone on here has touched on English language tests as well. I think that's very important to do early. I know Duolingo was mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, we don't take Duolingo here at Carleton. IELTS and TOEFL are the two most popular options, and TOEFL still has the online option for students who wish to complete the test from the comfort and safety of their own home. So those are some of the things I would kind of highlight for students needing to know and needing to do as well. But I can't stress enough how important it is to maintain open communication with the counselors so that they are able to provide the documents in a timely manner so we can give you or the student a timely decision.
Okay, great. Catherine? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, for a higher school student, rather than he will take his degree, what should he get from this 4 years that he will study abroad?
Sorry, you said what degree?
Rather than he get his degree,
Okay.
academic degree,
Sure.
what should he take from 4 years abroad? What he should have from being a international student?
That's a really great question. So I think that for students that are studying abroad, there are so many different aspects that you can come at it, right? So the first thing is that you're going to get your degree, and that's a great thing. Other than that, while you're studying, the first thing I think is the experience. So you're going to meet so many different people from different backgrounds. You're going to be able to see a lot of things. Like, let's say you go to Canada, you'll be able to travel in Canada and see all these beautiful things, see the snow. Maybe you've never seen snow before. That's an experience. Or maybe if you go to the US, there's, different landmarks. Maybe you can have time to travel during your holidays, or maybe go to places that you've seen on the movies before. Or maybe the UK, you can travel all those different places in Europe that are, in close proximity. So I think as a student, wherever you go, there's always going to be some really great aspects about whatever destination you choose. So it's definitely the experience. And then another aspect I would say is the connections you make while you're there. So if you decide to stay in that country and live and work there, you're going to meet people, your professors, your classmates, all of these people who will be great connections for you as you go out into the job market, into the quote unquote real world. So I think that's a really great thing. And then even if you decide to go back to your home country, and take everything you've learned back there, you will still have all of these connections and experience around the world that will enrich your life and even enrich your career as well. So for me, I think those are the big things for international students that you can take away from studying abroad. And I forgot to mention, you can become really proficient in another language. So that's really great as well. We've mentioned French, English, all of these different languages that you can become really good at by living in that country and interacting with people from that country every day.
Exactly, and also you're gonna have a culture experience about another culture. You met with other peoples, not only American people. You can meet with all the different international students who's coming from all over the world. So it will be a good experience for him. It may give him more options. Even if he wants to work anywhere, he will be ready to work everywhere and anywhere. This 100%. Is a good opportunity, I think.
Hey, Sana, it's Mark coming in here. Several of the schools on the panel, it looks like they have more than one location. Actually, Katie, I was just looking at St. Louis, and it looks like you have a campus in Europe as well. It'd be interesting if we could hear about what those other campuses are like and what you guys get up to on those particular campuses, why you even have them, and then if students that you're talking to today from Kuwait could actually study at both locations, or think there was one school that has 3 locations. Could we hear more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So our campus is in, our second campus is in Madrid, Spain. So we have about 800 full-time students on that campus at any given moment. So it's a lot smaller than the St. Louis campus. The St. Louis campus has around 8,000 undergrad. So as you hear those 2 numbers, obviously it's a lot smaller. We have 14 full degrees that are offered in our Madrid campus. So it's a smaller selection of course offerings, but it's a really amazing experience for our students. So what you could do is you could go to St. Louis University Madrid for all 4 years. You'll still get your degree from St. Louis University. You could do some combination of 2 years in St. Louis, 2 years in Madrid. You can learn Spanish, again, travel, have all of these cultural experiences that are really enriching for our students. And another really great aspect about it is students that typically aren't able to study abroad, like let's say you're studying nursing or one of these programs that are very intensive and have a set course load, you can still study abroad. So at St. Louis University, even if you are in one of those really intensive programs that has a set schedule from year to year, we still allow those students to spend a semester abroad. So I think that really is a fantastic opportunity for our students. I know all of the students that I've ever talked to that had a chance to go to Madrid really loved it and wouldn't have traded that experience for anything. So thanks for the question, Mark.
Yeah, are there others? Does Concordia have more than one campus?
Yeah, so we do have 2 campuses. They're both in Montreal, though, so it's a great point for students to be aware of. So we have 2 campuses, the one right in downtown Montreal, so it's very urban, well connected by public transportation with all the shops, all the restaurants, everything right there. You're really in the city center. And then we do have our campus, it's called the Loyola campus, which is, like I said, still in Montreal, but it's more the suburbs of Montreal, so it's a little bit quieter. There's more green space. It's about 30 minutes away by bus from the downtown campus. For us, the difference between the 2 are the programs that are offered on each campus. So the downtown campus is the larger one. It's where you'll find all of our engineering programs, computer science, business, social sciences, and humanities. And then Loyola campus has all of our natural sciences, our psychology program, journalism, communications, and applied human sciences. The difference between the 2 is really just the resources and the facilities that are on each campus. So because most of our labs are at Loyola, that's where a biology student will spend a lot of their time. When students are admitted to Concordia, though, they have full access to both campuses. You don't apply to a campus, you just apply to a program. And then based on the classes that you're taking, you may spend more time at one than the other. But if you are a student in business who wants to do a minor in psychology, for example, you will be splitting your time likely between the 2, which is really common for students to do. And there's dorms on both campuses, libraries on both campuses. Most facilities are duplicated on both campuses. So no matter where you're spending your time, you don't always have to be traveling back and forth. But like I said, it is common for students to do that, just depending on the programs that they're admitted into.
I don't mind. We have at York University, we actually have 4 campuses, and we have a 5th campus opening up in 2023. But I won't go into, I'll try not to go into too much detail about them because I could probably talk for 30 straight minutes about these campuses. But we have our main campus in Toronto. It has about 52,000 students at it, and it's like a city within the city of Toronto. There's a ring road surrounding it. So it's really just a space for York University students and staff. So that's where most of our programs are located, and most students who are applying to York, that's where they'll be studying. On that campus, there's all the essential things. There's over 50 restaurants, there's a small shopping mall, there's a doctor's office, a dentist office, a pharmacy, there's 2 sports stadiums, there's 6 ice hockey rinks in our ice hockey complex. Yes, we like our ice hockey at York University. But one of the more unique things about the campus is that it's also it's in the north part of the city, but very directly connected to downtown Toronto. So we have a subway station on campus called York University Station that just opened up in 2017. Mr. Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, came to our campus to cut the ribbon at the opening of the subway station. It was a very good day for us. And also they've been They've been building that subway station for about 20 years. So it was fantastic when it opened up. And that gives students a chance to go straight downtown with no transfers in about 30 minutes. So they have this big university campus that's just for them and York University staff, of course, at our Kiel campus, our main campus. But then if they want to go downtown, see a concert, go to a Raptors game, go to a restaurant that's not on campus, they can do that really easily. At the end of the day, they're coming back home to their space on campus. So that's our main campus, but we also have our Glendon campus, which is our bilingual campus. It has about 3,000 students at it. It's a 20-minute shuttle bus ride between the two campuses. And that's our bilingual campus, meaning students there are studying in English and in French. So some of the programs will overlap. It could be biology, psychology, international relations, but it's for students that are interested in studying that in an international environment, either doing a bilingual degree, English and French, or a trilingual degree, English, French, and Spanish. So it's a bit of a different vibe. And also, I mean, so the Glendon campus is also in one of the most beautiful areas of the city. Drake's house is a 2-minute drive away. So essentially, if you're at the Glendon campus, you are neighbors with Drake. So it's a different campus environment, but again, students have access to both. It's all York University. So if your major is at the Glendon campus, you can take classes at the Kiel campus. And if you're at the Kiel campus, you can take classes at the Glendon campus. We also have an eco campus in Costa Rica. We have an MBA campus in Hyderabad, India. And we have a new campus opening up in Toronto and our Markham campus in 2023, which is where some new computer science, AI, and business courses will be available. So there's like a saying that I've heard since I joined York about 5 years ago, is that since the university began in 1959, there's never been a point in time where construction has stopped. And that is just continuing now with these new additions being made to our main campus and also new campuses opening up.
How far from Victoria Park? How far is it?
From Victoria Park, by subway, you could probably get there in about...
No, by car.
By car? Depends on the traffic. Because Victoria Park is the thick of the center of the city. But you could probably get from Victoria Park to the Glendon campus in about maybe 15, 20 minutes. And to the Kiel campus in probably about 40 minutes. But again, it depends on the traffic. If you're driving on a Sunday morning, easy as pie, right? But if you're driving in rush hour, a totally different situation, right? But by subway, it would probably take you maybe about the same as what I just mentioned, 20 minutes or 40 minutes, yeah.
Okay, great. Because I've been in Victoria Park for 1 year, so
really,
I lived there for a year.
Wow!
So
what were you up to there? Now we're interviewing you.
I was taking a training course for etiquette and protocol.
Ah, cool. I mean, Toronto, very, very, very proper people in Toronto. Very serious, very formal. Yeah.
That's why I've been there for a year, like 9 months actually there. So I know the places. I know London, Ajax, I'm sure all the places I know very well. So.
I love it.
Yeah, so I have a good experience in Canada. Don't worry.
Great. No, I'm happy to hear. I just realized. Sorry, I have some students in my chat that I will respond to now. Excuse me.
Yeah,
sorry.
sure.
I've got to jump in though, because you just said Ajax, and that's where I grew up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the town. That's my parents still live there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a very nice place.
Yeah,
very nice place. Yeah, I've been there, so I have a tour for all those places. So it was a good time for me in Canada. So we need more to know more about the student chances who's not Kuwaiti, other nationality, if he want to work and to study in Canada. So what's his chances? Or you could help him, or?
Yeah, I can answer that. So Canada has very favorable work opportunities for international students. It's often one of the reasons that we hear from students for why they want to come to Canada for study. So while a student's doing an academic program, so like a university bachelor's program would be an example, they are allowed to work part-time while they study, and there's no additional work permit that they have to apply for. This is automatically included with their study permit, and it starts from basically as soon as they start classes in that first year. And the only restrictions are that they cannot work more than 20 hours per week during the academic weeks. They can work full-time hours, I believe up to 40 hours during any breaks. So for example, over the Christmas holidays or reading week or the summer vacation. But they can work on or off campus. So it's quite flexible. They can work in any industry. So we have students that sometimes will find part-time employment in their field of study, but sometimes students will just go and work at the mall, and so they can get a discount on their favorite clothing or something like that. And then once a student graduates from a Canadian university, they are eligible to apply for a post-grad work permit. As long as they complete a program that is at least 2 years in length, they can get a work permit that's up to 3 years. That work permit operates basically like an open work permit, so they can work anywhere in Canada in any industry. So it's quite flexible in that sense. Employers really love it too, because 3 years is a pretty significant amount of time. So they're not concerned that they're going to lose that student after only 6 months or a year. That 3-year period is also fairly intentional by the government in the sense that there are then programs that students can apply for if they're interested in permanent residence. And so that would be something that a student could look into. Many of our universities have international student advisors that are certified in immigration for Canada. So they can assist students with any of those processes as they're studying.
Okay. Kate? Katie? Is it the same thing for you guys?
Yeah, it is. So throughout Canada, you'll find the same process that Shanna just outlined, where once a student graduates and are meeting certain requirements, they may be eligible for that postgraduate work permit. All of the universities, Canadian universities who are here today, we're all eligible. Students from our programs and from our schools would be eligible for those types of work permits afterwards. You'll also find that many of our universities, again, if not, I'm sure all of them, offer career preparation services for students. So if they are a student who is, if they're an international student, or even if they are a Canadian student and they want some support in either what it's like to job hunt, so they need help with preparation for their interviews, preparing a cover letter, preparing a resume or a CV, or if they're an international student and they've maybe done that in their home country but are not quite sure what the process is in Canada, there's often career support services that can help students with that, both while they're students and usually for a year or two after they graduate as well. So for students who are looking to go straight into employment after they finish their bachelor's degree, it's a really great service to make use of because these are trained career professionals who can support students through that process. I'll also add, they're really great too if a student doesn't know what exactly they want to do once they graduate, which is really common and totally normal to not be quite sure what your ultimate career path is. They can also support students through that. So help you figure out what types of jobs you might enjoy, what kind of companies you might enjoy working for, etc. And I'm, I guess, repeating myself on this instance, but the co-op program in Canada as well, those paid work experiences are really beneficial for students who are looking to work after they graduate as well.
Great. I think Catherine is in US, it's totally different, right?
Sorry, I was answering some chats. Could you repeat the original question?
Yeah, if I want to work as a part-time job, is it possible on the state that I study and work at the same time?
Yeah, so we allow students to work on campus specifically for up to 20 hours a week. So aside from having a work permit, students wouldn't be able to work off campus. So that would be the difference for us. So it sounds like it may be a little bit different in Canada.
Okay. Good.
jump in there a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm also in the US, and likewise, students can work up to 20 hours per week. But even if I always encourage, especially international students, when they get to the US, to get even a small job on campus, just even if it's 5-10 hours a week, because it really sort of is a fast way right into the campus culture and to get connected with others. And very often that's what success is all about. So it's kind of fast tracks that for them. And we do offer, in some majors, specifically mostly engineering, we do have curricular practical training, which sometimes you can get paid for if it's directly connected to your major. And then after you finish your degree, one of the rights of an F1 student visa is you can work 12 to 18 months, depending on your major, in the field. And it's exactly that. It's using your degree practically. So there is an opportunity to move forward with that. So I think that in the US, the regulations are a little bit stricter, but there are plenty of opportunities.
Okay, you are talking about working as a part-time to know everything about this. It's instead of the welcome party, right? the first for you in the beginning. So tell me about the majors that or some of the element. I heard that like, for example, our who's in charge for our parliament, Mr. Marzouk Al-Ghanem, is one of he's a graduate student from Seattle, right?
Yes, he graduated, I think, in the mid-2000s. Yeah, he's one of our alumni. We actually have many well-known alumni in the region.
Khalid Al-Ghanem also there. Yeah. He's the president of Kuwait Sport Club.
Yes,
wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a lot of great alumni in the area, which we do go visit there now and again. And I remember a few years back, we hosted a delegation and they were part of it who came back, and it was fun walking around and showing them campus after, maybe 10 years have gone by. And I've been working at SU forever, so I remember when they were students. But it was fun just going through the engineering buildings and just kind of rekindling their memory and everything. Yeah, we have a lot of great alumni connections throughout the Middle East, especially Saudi Arabia and Kuwait.
Yeah, I know lots of students who graduate from Seattle University, especially because I used to start in Seattle, but then I shifted to Florida, from Tampa, Florida, but I started in Seattle.
Don't tell me because of the weather.
Exactly, exactly.
Seattle has beautiful weather. Believe it or not, there's beautiful weather here. And Florida gets hurricanes. Florida has more rain than Seattle.
But it is more like Kuwait when it comes to the weather.
Yeah. Exactly. Once you are 18 years old, you are thinking about something similar to your weather,
Yeah.
It's totally different for me. So how about Shannon, if there is any Kuwaiti student was in your school for the past years?
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we usually have a few Kuwaiti students. Kuwait's not our most popular country from the Middle East, but we usually always have a few from Kuwait.
It will be, inshallah, starting from this year.
Yes, inshallah, right? So yeah, but we have a very robust Middle Eastern population on campus. So yeah, they can definitely feel like they're part of a community.
And how about politics major? Is it available in your school?
Yeah, so we have a really great Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, and so we do have a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. That program has 2 specializations, so students can choose to do a specialization in political communication or they can do social justice, globalization, and development. They can also do a double degree in the arts. So if they're also interested in another area, perhaps legal studies or psychology or criminology, they can do a double degree with a political science program.
Natasha, about studying medicine in UK.
Mm-hmm.
What's the steps that they should have it?
Yeah.
If they want to study medicine.
Okay, for Kuwaiti students specifically, most of them actually have to go through the KCO for approval to get placed into any medicine programs, because it's quite different to the US and Canada. It's a much shorter program. It's only 5 years and they jump immediately into medicine after high school. So the KCO does have a couple specific allocations for medicine programs in the UK with some UK universities. And then the students are restricted to apply through the KCO and get a place through that. Now that then there are some general placements for Kuwaiti students as well. So then they can seek an offer letter for medicine. And then after that, they have to go to the ministry, get that approved before they get their sponsorship letter for the medicine program. But once, if they seek their own offer for medicine program, then the progression into medicine is not guaranteed. And it is very competitive because they have limited places available for international students globally for these medicine placements. So it is the Kuwaitis have a better chance to have a guaranteed progression into medicine if they're seeking the sponsorship directly through the KCO because they have the allocation. Whereas if they're seeking their placements themselves, then they definitely have to be aware that it's very competitive then after foundation program to move into the medicine program.
Great, great. Mary, are you there?
Yes,
Mary?
Yes.
Yeah. The same question about studying medicine in US.
Yes.
What's the steps that students have to get?
So you know it's extremely competitive in the United States to access medical programs. But obviously the students have to go through the Kaplan medical program initially so that they can go through their MCAT process and then apply. But there are university programs. So working with the Saudi Arabian Cultural Mission for 4 years and having been part of the medical department at SACM, I learned that you can actually sign contracts with medical schools so that you can reserve positions for international doctors. So if there is an interest, then we can pursue that route and sign agreements with university hospitals directly, and then work with the students on a case-by-case level so that we can try and place them in medical programs in the US. It is a very tedious course and it is extremely competitive, but students that have the necessary criteria, the necessary background, the necessary profile, and obviously the academics and results, then we can definitely do something and work with them on a case-by-case basis.
Mary, I have a very funny question actually. A student is saying that she has tried to get more than 5 bands in IELTS and she cannot, she has failed, like she got only 4. Is there something we can do for her? She wants to study in USA.
Zunaira, are you addressing the question to me?
Yes, Mary.
Your voice wasn't clear. I didn't understand the question. I'm sorry. There's an echo and I didn't hear you.
Okay, the student has less than 4 bands, which is, I don't know, a record maybe, and she wants to study in the US. So she's saying, what can she do? Can she do?
She has less than what? Sorry?
Less than 4 bands in IELTS.
Less than 4?
Yeah.
Okay, and she wants to pursue medical school?
No, not medical. She wants to study literature and improve her English in the US. So what can we offer?
Oh, okay. Then obviously the first course is gonna have to be an English language course where she can improve her English language skills, and then depending on her on her high school grade? Is she an undergrad student?
Yes.
Is she an undergrad student?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so depending on her high school grades, we would have to look at the schools that are ELS partners that offer her major, and then we can start submitting her applications. You as an agent are also part of our UAS system, which allows you and authorizes you to go through the system and look up the schools that are partners with ELS, where you will find her sought major. And once we have a selection of schools, she can then go through the ELS program, complete her level 112, and then matriculate to the university that is most suitable for her, depending on her grades as well.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And if there's anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate.
So, yes, Mark. Mark Kelvin, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'll let Mark go.
That's okay.
Kelvin?
Yes.
Yeah. If a student who couldn't get the IELTS now because of the whole situation, what's his chances to start study or start joining the university?
Yeah, so unfortunately for direct admission into Carleton University and any of our undergraduate degree programs, we would require some form of English language proficiency test before we can admit the student. Obviously with IELTS, it can be a little difficult now, and we understand that. That's why we are redirecting some of our students towards the online TOEFL option. If students do take that test, they need a minimum score of 86 overall. And if any students find themselves in this situation, they're more than welcome to contact me, and I can send them the link and help walk them through the process, as well as share with them the exact scores we need in each individual band for a TOEFL exam. TOEFL made the switch back at the beginning of the pandemic to allow students to take the exam online from the comfort and safety of their home. So that is what we would require if a student's unable to sit for a TOEFL or IELTS in person. Unfortunately, we don't take Duolingo. That's not an option for our students. So it would have to be one of those two choices. There are some opportunities through different English language institutions here in Canada, such as CultureWorks, for students to apply to CultureWorks, complete their English language training through that, through the organization, and then apply to Carleton and hopefully receive a conditional offer pending their completion of that English language program. But for students interested in a direct entry pathway, we will need some sort of English proficiency test.
Can he get a conditional approval?
Not without an English language test, no. We would require a TOEFL or IELTS score before we could give a conditional offer.
Okay. Okay. So, Carl, is it the same thing over there?
I think, Sama, for this situation, it'll vary depending on the university. We're fortunate at York to have one of the largest English language teaching programs in Canada at our York University English Language Institute. So what students can receive a conditional offer of admission to almost every program at our university. And then one of the conditions will be either to provide the required IELTS or TOEFL score by a month before the beginning of classes, or to enroll into our English language school. And then that would require them, based on the current score they have, either to do a 2-month, 4-month, 6-month, or 8-month English language program. And then they would go directly into their undergraduate program afterwards. So this is what we see often from students coming from Kuwait or other countries in the Middle East, where they might have that IELTS score of 5.5, but then we offer those bridging opportunities. So if they're academically admissible, they have great grades from their high school and strong grades in, again, using the engineering example, strong grades in chemistry, physics, and math, but they don't have that IELTS 6.5 that we're looking for, then they can be admitted to engineering with that condition that they either provide that IELTS 6.5 by say if they're starting in September, by August 1st. And if they don't have that, then they would need to enroll in our English language program. They might study for 2 or 4 months and then roll right into the English language program at the next available intake. But again, that'll vary. I think many universities have similar options like that. So it'll all depend on the university. And it's important for students when they're doing their research to see what options are available to them, or if they would like to do like a third option, which is take 4 or 8 months to study an English language program independently, and then apply with having taken IELTS or TOEFL or once they've completed that program, and then applying with that in their high school grade. So there's a lot of moving parts, but again, it is possible to get conditional offers of admission at many universities, at least in Canada, without actually having the sufficient IELTS or TOEFL at that time.
I will add on to that though, because it's similar at Concordia, that if they don't have the appropriate IELTS or TOEFL score, they would be potentially conditionally admitted to a program, but be required to complete an English language course before starting those business classes or engineering classes. But I want to add, it's important to note, oftentimes at Concordia, and I'm guessing probably for most of my colleagues in Canada, that an initial IELTS or TOEFL test is required. They can't just apply with only their high school grades and then expect a conditional offer, assuming they'll take an English program. We do need an initial test. So if their scores are low on that initial test, then we require the English program. So that's just a clarification I want to make, that they can't apply without, or they won't receive a decision without any sort of IELTS or TOEFL test. But if they submit those tests and their scores are low, there are then options for them afterwards.
Great. Mark, are you there? I think he's not.
Sorry, I'm here, Sam. I couldn't find the mute button. I'm getting a little punchy here.
So Mark, what's your advice for the international student?
Well, in general, obviously, getting to know people at these schools is really important. I mean, you need someone at the institution to help mentor you and guide you through this. And, the fact that all of these folks on the panel today are also working with you and Zanera and your firm, I mean, that's kind of the perfect combination. You have people in country and then people in the countries, where you might want to go to school. That's the perfect one too, to help with all of the questions you've been asking about. What programs do you offer? How do you get financial assistance if that's important to you? If you want to play sports, how do you do that? I mean, between your office, mentoring and working with these students, and then the reps that are on the panel today, that's really the best way to navigate this whole process. Otherwise, you can go out on your own to websites and wander around, but I think students waste a lot of time and parents waste a lot of time wandering around on these various sites. And what's the point of that? It's so easy, and these folks are so accessible to talk to. And frankly, I'm sure there are probably a lot of people that would disagree with this, but I think the pandemic has been good in that it's put us on these platforms. I mean, look at me, I'm in 2 different countries right now on 2 different panels, talking to kids in 2 different parts of the world, and reps in the UK and reps in Canada and reps in the US. I mean, how would you be able to do that if we were all sitting in Kuwait right now at a table at a hotel? You'd be kind of singularly focused, but people are doing 2 or 3 things as we're on this panel together right now, which is, I think, a lot more efficient. And for students, they really should be making Zoom appointments with the folks on our panel right now and talking to them, and their parents can come in and you can go through everything over a 20 or a 30-minute Zoom call, which is really a convenient way to understand, what might be the best next step. I guess I would throw a question back to you, Sama. I mean, what can you do for the institutions on the panel today to help them be more efficient, especially in this time of COVID? But then, you know, we're going to get beyond this probably mid next year, and I suspect there'll be travel going on again. What can you and your staff do to help identify the right students for their institution and ultimately get these students to these campuses?
Yeah, actually, after we have the results of the scholarships in Kuwait, we start from today to put a plan for advertise all the schools that we are work with and all the institutions. Start from the fair, then we will start every day. There will be webinars every day. There will be a marketing advertisement every day, because I think that this experience it's very unique. I agree with you that COVID-19, there is some positive things on it. This experience, it's something new in Kuwait. If you talk to the student or talk to the Kuwaiti before March and tell them to come to Zoom, to work in Zoom, nobody will agree. Nobody will think about going to Zoom and to talk to other people in different countries. But now, totally everything is changing. We try to change the behavior here for the students. This is a new experience for the students, is to go to Zoom and to talk to the institution and the university. So starting from today, we will work very hard to change this behavior with your help, with the institution and university's help. We will change the behavior here in this area, in let's say in the Gulf area, that you can talk to your university or talk to the institution that you want to go to one-on-one and take all the information directly from them and then go for it. Don't waste your time to ask other people. No, go directly and talk to the university that you wish to study in and get your answers directly. So we will work every day till we reach our goal.
Yeah, that's really good. I would just add one other thing, and I know, you know, a lot of the schools that are on here, you know, you guys know me and your schools are clients of GSRA, so I won't belabor this too much, especially to Wade in Seattle, because I bother him about this probably every week. But all of your schools have amazing, accomplished alumni that are all over the world. I mean, I just for fun, because, you know, I don't have much fun. I go out on LinkedIn and I'll look at Concordia, or I'll look at York, or I'll look at St. Louis or whatever. And you have these amazing people all over the place: Malaysia, Indonesia, Kuwait, UAE, you name it. Many of them are in education. You know, they're at international schools, or they have their own English language company or whatever. And, you know, I would really encourage everyone to reach out to some of these people. I know it's time consuming, and, you know, like any relationship, it develops over, you know, months, maybe years, but these people are incredibly helpful, and they will go out of their way, you know, really for nothing. And I'm talking about financially, to help you and to spread the word about, you know, the school that they went to and loved, and now what they're doing. But most of these people, I can tell you from experience, they don't know anyone at the universities. No one has reached out to them. And once you leave university, you know, you lose those connections. You don't know people of authority in admissions, and you're likely not to reach out to them. But if you reach out to these folks, they can be extremely helpful. And Wade, I put you on the spot here because you have a lot of fabulous alums in the MENA region. I mean, maybe you'd like to talk about some of the people out there and what they do to help you, but I would encourage everybody on this panel to, look around LinkedIn and find some of these folks and ask them for help. They're very helpful.
Scott, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah, we didn't hear anything from you long time. So what do you think
that's
about
okay. I'm enjoying hearing from my colleagues.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
Sorry, could you?
About what's your advice for the international student who's
my
intending
advice
to
for
study
international
abroad?
students, yeah. I'd be happy to share some. It can be an absolutely wonderful experience having an international education. So I encourage anybody who has the ability to study internationally to do so. With that in mind, there are challenges in being an international student studying in a new country. Some of those challenges can come from cultural differences. It can come from finances. It can come from academics. It can come from new living arrangements, new support systems, and so on. And so I think whenever there's a challenging experience, to seek out support from those around us. And so the university offers a lot of support to international students to assist them with that transition to a new learning environment, to a new living environment, to a new academic system. And so I highly encourage students to be active in their transition and to seek out that support that so many of our universities would be offering it to students. There's going to be a lot of challenges, but the rewards can be really magnificent. And so I highly encourage students who are thinking about studying internationally to contact the representatives here and to ask questions about supports on campus and what life is like for an international student. And I encourage students to take that opportunity that may present itself to them and to really challenge it and to explore. So entering into university is an opportunity for students to explore their academic interests, their career opportunities, their personal interests. And I really encourage students to take the opportunity in their studies to explore new ideas, to explore new career options, to explore having the opportunity to work part-time while studying and to seek out the support that the universities offer. And we're all here and think we're all willing to assist students in that way. And so I encourage anybody to have that opportunity.
Allow me to speak Arabic a little bit. هدى أنت تتكلمين عن الانترناشونال الأمريكان انترناشونال يونيفرسيتي اللي بالجهرة، بس يا ليت تجاوبيني عشان أعرف أن you are talking about international American International University in Kuwait, right? لأن مو فاهم أنا السؤال اللي تقصدينه، بس إذا تقصدين هالسؤال بس يا ليت تجاوبيني عشان أعرف. Carl. It's your call. Tell me more. What's your advice for the international student?
Oh, there's so many. Where do you even begin, right? I think like jumping off of what Scott was speaking of, like the opportunity to get an international education is something that's quite unique. Many who are typically students are studying at maybe a local university in a culture that they're familiar with, and surrounded by people that maybe are from the same country, culture, background. Getting an international education is something that's truly special and unique and offers so much opportunity to grow and learn more about yourself, about a specific subject or area you're interested in, but also another country or culture or people, and to make long-lasting connections. And this can be professional connections, but also friendships. So, I mean, I think speaking from everyone here, some of the best friends that we've made in our lives are friends that we've made at university. So like this is like it's a big, unique decision. So that's why I recommend maybe like a piece of advice is when you're investigating the university that you're interested in studying in, it's like take that time and listen to the guidance of the people around you, but also listen to yourself about what you truly want from the program you're interested in. And I think there are always pressures coming in, and but make sure you listen to what you really want and what you're interested in doing and the type of place you want to go to and the type of city you want to be in and who you want to be, right? And that learns and develops and grows after you started your university career as well. But take that time to think about what you really want to do and where you want to be in the future. And then beyond that, once you get onto the campus, say yes. Say yes to as much as you possibly can. Explore this new place that you're in. Go out and talk to people. Get involved. It's often get outside that comfort zone, and that comfort zone is often chucked around. Get outside your comfort zone is such an important thing, because we have many opportunities and outlets for our students at our universities, but it's not like we're going to go bang on someone's door and drag them out of the room to get involved in activities on campus either. So it's something that has to come from within that interest, that excitement, that willingness to explore both in your program, but also whatever your university or city or town that you're in has to offer. So maybe if the two pieces of advice are, when you're making your university decision, think about what you want and where you want to be in the future, and then how that connects with the university you're going to. When you're at the university, say yes to as much as you can. Of course, within reason. It's like university is both about studying and about enjoying yourself, and there's a balance to be found there. But go out and explore. Do things that you never thought you'd do. Do things you've always wanted to try, but maybe you couldn't, or maybe depending on where you've come from, you didn't have the opportunity to. But that's something that you can experience there. And that's beyond, that doesn't matter what university you're interested in, what country you're interested in studying in. That's just general advice of maybe how to approach this whole broader concept of choosing a university and what that experience can be beyond just the simple, how do I apply and what programs are there? I hope that wasn't too much talking. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Natasha, in the state of Liverpool, what things that the student can do in UK?
You mean just anywhere in the UK?
Yeah, anywhere.
I mean,
and where is the places that you think it's better for the Gulf student to study there?
This is always a tricky question, because especially students from the GCC, they like to be connected to a large city so that they have convenient flights back and forth. And most of the time, the families have homes as well then in the UK, so that they can visit their daughters while they're there. So we actually see a lot of female students going to Leeds University up north in the UK. We do have students in Sheffield a lot, Cardiff. Not that many students in the London area from Kuwait. They do prefer more the second next largest, like they prefer Manchester, Newcastle area, those type of areas. But we also see now that students do look into Scotland. And I think mainly because the progression from foundation into the bachelor degree is much, much higher than at Manchester or in Newcastle, where students feel like, you know, it's a little bit tougher to progress into those bachelor degrees. And Scottish universities have just a way of looking after their students and really focusing on the extra tutoring and extra advising throughout. Anywhere where you go in the UK, there's not much difference. You know, for the female students, I would always say the smaller the city, of course, the safer it is. Manchester and London, it is a large city, so obviously it's not like the GCC. There is crime, and so you have to be aware of that. But then you have cities such as Sheffield and Leeds that are large cities, but they're quite safe also for female students. So it is a lot of variety. Cardiff University down in Wales has a lot of international students. quite diverse student population, but it really depends. Anywhere where you go, it's very international. They're very open-minded. I think sometimes the media makes it scarier than it actually is. Alone in Glasgow, they have 30 mosques in the city, around the city, so very international, and the students can easily find their way around it, find comfort as well from home in the UK where they're living or where they're studying.
Yeah, there's a question that they want to know more about pathway or foundation program. They want to know more information about it.
Yeah, so for a lot of Kuwaiti-sponsored students, they have to do a foundation program before they progress into the universities in the UK. And that is mainly because Thanawiya is based 12 years, where the high school system in the UK is 13 years. So they're missing that 1 year academics in order to qualify for direct admission to the bachelor degree. So foundation program for us as a study group, our international study centers, besides 2 of them, are located directly on the campus of the university, meaning that we're working very closely with the universities to design our foundation programs. The students, when they're arriving at the International Study Center for foundation, they're already a student of the university. Foundation program can start in September or in January, so there are 2 intakes per year. And then they progress into the bachelor degree the following year in September, or when they're starting in January, they are the same year in September. It's typically a 9 months program where they're going through academics. So they're pretty much taking up the high school level that they have accomplished back in Kuwait. They're taking that up to the 13 year. And then they are studying in most of the UK, it's 3-year degrees. So they're only doing 3 years plus 1 year foundation, which is similar to the US or Canada, where they have 4-year degrees anyway when they're moving into direct admission. That also means that after the foundation program, there's not much flexibility when you're jumping into a 3-year degree. So the first year of being general falls away, and they're specializing right away in the degree. So what they really have to do in the foundation program, they really have to figure out if they are between 2 engineering program, let's say, between mechanical, electrical, there is still some flexibility to change the progression degree after they're completing the foundation program to change it. But once you're in your bachelor degree, it's quite tricky then to change the degree once you're in it. Scotland is a little bit different. Scotland is the American system. It's 4-year degrees. But when you're doing our foundation program in Scotland, then you're jumping into the 2nd year. So again, you're only studying 3 years plus 1 year foundation, 4 years in total then. There are some exclusions. So medicine is definitely 5-year program plus foundation, so 6 years in total. Pharmacy at most universities is 4-year degree plus foundation, so 5 years. So there are some differences, and that depends from university to university. But rule is, if you're doing Thanawiya or if you're doing American diploma only, you need to do a foundation program before going into university. If you do A levels, if you're doing IB, then you can jump into direct admission into the bachelor degree directly.
Great, thanks. Shannon? Shannon?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. How long does it take to get the acceptance?
Yeah, so great question. So at Ontario Tech, we process admission on an ongoing basis. So generally, once we have the application submitted and their documents, so we do accept electronic documents for conditional admission. So a student can upload or email those to us for a quicker response time. For those, we typically are able to process in about 1 to 2 weeks to be honest, that's probably the longer end of things. We're often quicker than that. Just to clarify, because there were some questions around this a little bit earlier, we will offer conditional admission if the student hasn't yet submitted an English proficiency test. So as long as their academic documents meet the criteria for admission, we will issue the conditional admission, and then they have typically up until a few weeks before school starts to get us the final English language proficiency test, as well as their final official documents.
Same question. How long does it take to get the acceptance?
So similar to what Shannon was mentioning, Dalhousie University also reviews applications on an ongoing basis. And so once students submit an application, they're required to submit the supporting documents as well, which would include their transcripts from previous studies, as well as their proof of English language proficiency. And at that point, Dalhousie will review the application, will process it. And we're looking at usually a 4 to 6 week period between when students complete the application to when we are reviewing it and providing a response to students. Occasionally, we will require additional information from the students. So there may be missing documents or missing information, or we just have a few questions to ask the student. And in that situation, earlier on, we'll email them to request the additional information and keep them updated. So the application is submitted online, and through the online portal, they'll be able to keep track of what stage their application is in, and if there's any required information that we need from them so that they can respond. But typically 4 to 6 weeks period between when they submit it and when they receive a response. Of course, that can be quicker during quieter periods, and occasionally it can go longer during kind of the peak periods towards the end of the application period, which at Dalhousie would be April 1st for international students for most programs.
Great. Why? Same question.
Well, we have two different deadlines. So if an applicant applies early action, which the deadline is November 15th, they'll get their decision usually by late December. If they apply to regular decision, which the deadline is January 15th, they get their decision by March 1st. That's, for a lot of schools in the US, that's the typical sort of timeline. We don't really see any difference between early action and regular decision on our end. It's kind of more just peace of mind for the applicants themselves. If they're certain that they want to come to Seattle U, we can get them that decision sooner, but that's the basic deadline. Then the US national deadline to respond, that is to confirm your seat at Seattle U or most universities in the US, is May 1st.
Okay. Catherine?
Yeah, so like I mentioned a little bit earlier, St. Louis University does do rolling admission for all of our programs with the exception of 3. So there are 3 programs that have an application deadline of December 1st. Those 3 programs are physical therapy, occupational therapy, and nursing. If you're applying to any of the other programs, like I said, we do rolling admission. What that means is, like many of the other universities have said, you can apply and be admitted at any time. And so the typical response time, I would say, after an application is totally completed is probably about 1 to 2 weeks, at which point we'll send you communication letting you know that you've been admitted and with information about next steps.
Okay. Katie?
Yeah, so for us, it's a little bit of a longer process. So the application for fall 2021, let's say, is open now. And we typically, our timeline that we say we start sending out offers of admission is usually, we begin in February, and that's when students can start to hear back. Now, the past couple of years, we've been a little bit earlier than that. I think last year we had some offers going out by end of December for the students who were able to apply early and have all of their documents in. But we typically, most of our offers will start going out February onwards. And then students usually have until June 1st to accept an offer of admission. For us, an important piece of it is that we do require in-progress grades from their grade 12 year. So whether that's a first semester grade report or predicted grades from an A-level or IB programs, we do require some sort of grades from their grade 12 year. And that's often why a lot of students will hear back a little bit later because we need those grade 12 grades. But yeah, February onwards is when students will start to hear, and then they'll have a few months to make their decision from there.
Okay. Melissa, are you there? Okay, she's busy, I think. Okay, so hold a second. I want to read the questions.
Hi, I'm here. I'm sorry, I was answering someone in the chat room.
Yeah. No
but
problem.
we are pretty much similar to a lot of the other processes discussed with our application. We are also on a rolling basis, and the application is available now. We accept the common application. We do require the proof of English proficiency, but we will review applications for conditional admission. Test scores that we do accept are the IELTS, TOEFL, or the Duolingo. But as mentioned before, we will review an application pending the proof of English proficiency and then offer conditional admission. It's rolling basis, so usually we can get a decision out within 2 to 4 weeks once we get all of the required document material items to review an application.
Okay, good. There is a question more. Is your university is research university? We can say that it's a research university. You hear me or?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Your university is, we can call it a research university?
A research?
Yeah.
Yes. So there are definitely research opportunities with faculty members for students, depending on the program that they choose to study at the University of Scranton, but there are definitely a lot of research opportunities within each program.
Okay, great. Natasha, how about the acceptance and how long it will take?
So we do offer conditional offers within 48 hours. So it's quite quick. In the UK, we also have a lot of flexibility. So I think I mentioned earlier that in Kuwait, the tendency is to apply quite late. We don't really have deadlines, which is good for the students. And we do have a grace period for the students to arrive on campus. So if there is an official course start date, they can arrive up to 2 weeks late within the grace period. So there is a lot of flexibility around it. And students, because they can get an offer within 48 hours, we're quite late sometimes with issuing offers as well, close to intake times.
And it's included also for the medicine majors, or?
Yeah, medicine is the same, but we don't have a lot of foundation places for medicine. What usually happens is they fill up quite early at the end of the year. So now our applications for medicine will start officially in November for next year's September intake, and they will fill up quite quickly with conditional offers. But then there might be a turnaround next year summer when the grades are out for the students and they might not meet the conditions actually in the offer. So then, so students can go ahead now, be placed on the waiting list, and then in the summertime, there might be something available later on.
Okay, great. Wade, this is the same question about, do you guys have physical therapist majors?
We don't have physical therapy very often. That's at a master's level. We have sports and exercise science and biology, and a lot of those students end up going into physical therapy after they finish.
So they have to go to how many years to study?
It usually takes about 6 years.
6 years, huh?
Yeah. There are some physical therapy programs that are bachelor's programs still, but they're pretty rare. So usually you have to get a bachelor's and then a master's of physical therapy and even doctorate.
Mm-hmm. Because I think there is a lot of students who accept in the scholarship here in Kuwait, they intend to study physical therapist. So I have some question about it. So it's open. The question is open for everyone about physical therapist major.
I can answer for at least Ontario. I think it might be similar across Canada, but definitely in Ontario. Physiotherapy is a master's level program. So students have to have a 4-year degree to be able to enter a physiotherapy program. This would be similar to a chiropractor as well. Generally, they should be doing their undergraduate program in an area like kinesiology or exercise science.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add on to that.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I'll add on to that. At the undergraduate level at Concordia, we do have an athletic therapy program. It is a different designation and a different qualification, but if a student is looking specifically at working with athletes, that's a 4 to 5-year program actually at Concordia that's undergraduate level and leads to an accreditation as an athletic therapist, not physiotherapist or physical therapy or anything like that. For all of that in Quebec, it'd be the same as what Shannon said, where if the student wants to be designated within the province of Quebec as a physical therapist or anything like that, occupational therapist, it would be at the grad level. But we do have that athletic therapy and kinesiology undergraduate program that can lead to STEM accreditation.
Athletic therapy, he will gain more money than physiotherapy.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think everyone wants to work with him, so it's good opportunity. There's here, but
sorry, just to join, Dalhousie University would also be a graduate level program for physiotherapy. So it would require first an undergraduate degree and then moving on towards a physiotherapy after admission.
Okay, great.
If I could just add as well, I know we're all wanting to jump in a little bit, but ours is an early assurance freshman entry physical therapy program. So students will complete the first 2 years, which is the exercise science portion, and then move on to the DPT, Doctor of Physical Therapy degree after the successful completion of those first 4 years. So it is when students are entering as a freshman, they're entering the physical therapy program at St. Louis University. So it's a little different, I guess, from most of the universities on the call.
Okay, and what's the requirement for graduate student to study in St. Louis?
So I don't work with graduate students at all, so I'm not as familiar with the graduate program requirements. But if there are students that are interested in grad programs, definitely reach out, and then I'll get you guys connected with somebody who could help.
Great, good, it's very good. So there is a question. This is for Natasha. How does study group help in completing the foundation program? Natasha?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because I think a lot of students don't know what the difference is with the foundation program or then the first year of the bachelor degree. So foundation is really an introduction into the studies in the UK. So they're going through academics, but I think what is really essential is the English studies that they're going to be doing during the foundation year, because it's going into how to do research properly. All of the UK universities, they're very much research focused, and they're going to also be teaching them how to cite references correctly. They're going to get them used to the British vocabulary, because the British, they are very much insisting on expressing themselves accordingly in any assignments, any essays. So they're very particular. And so these English courses are very helpful. I oftentimes get questions if students have taken an IELTS and they scored an 8, if they can skip all the English classes, and it's a no. Because even if you have an 8 and you studied here in the GCC, you're coming from a complete different vocabulary, you're coming from the school system. So it is really essential to have that in the foundation program covered no matter what. You're going to be in a different level of English than somebody who scored a 5 or a 4, but we'd have to make sure you're still going through the adjustments of what they need, what they're going to expect from you when you're going into university. On top of that, they're going to have extra tutoring. They can resit exams. It's not always possible then at the university when they're at bachelor level. So, you know, it is quite an adjustment as well for Kuwaiti students coming from Thanawiya or American system. So it is quite good that they have the opportunity of resit exams. And it's not just to resit to pass, but it's also to resit if they want to just improve their grades. They have to a GPA in order to progress into the university. So it's not like just pass the foundation program and then, you know, you have your offer. You need to make sure that you have a minimum GPA. And the higher rank the university, the tougher it is to get that GPA. So attendance is a must. We're making sure we're checking in with you. We have a progression team at all of our international study centers, and they are monitoring your progress. And if they are worried at any point in time that you have missed too many classes, or that you are just not going to go and be able even to with an exam to make up for it, then you know, we will have them extra tutoring suggestion, or you know, buddy them up with a student that has actually excellent attendance and excellent exam results, so that they can support each other. On top of that, we have a teamwork assignment. So we're really challenging the students also with their soft skills in the foundation program. And there are definitely some universities where we can even say for Kuwaitis in pharmacy, which is a tough program, we have 100% progression in Strathclyde. And that's because they have this support system, not only in the foundation program, later on with the university as well. So definitely certain differences as well when looking into the foundation programs, looking into the various programs, so that, you know, when we're talking to the students, when we're counseling them on the different options, that we can see, okay, are you a little bit more timid? Are you going to be somebody who can keep up if you're in a big university setting? Do you need a smaller classroom size where you feel like you are able to speak up? So there's a lot of different you know, things to look into and different perspectives to consider when choosing the foundation program, choosing the right university for the student as well. So it's really not for us to just have the student do the foundation program. For us, the goal is for them to progress into the university. Yeah.
Great. And the next question is there a test at the end of foundation?
Yeah, as I said, so there are exams, just as if they would take them in the bachelor degree. They're going to have team assignments, they're going to have individual work that they have to show for, and then they have exams after each semester. So there are 2 semesters, and they're going to finish them up each with exams, and then they usually have a reset period of 1 week. So sometimes students, as I said, we have the progression team that will alert you if you're struggling or if you might not meet your GPA. So then they tell you already, don't go back, because typically in the foundation program, when it finishes in the summertime, the students return back to Kuwait, and then they reapply for their visa for the bachelor degree at the university. So we tell them then and advise them, stay in the UK, because you need to follow up with the resit exams in the summertime. But yeah, there will definitely be exams.
Okay, great. Shannon, they are talking about engineering. What, which is the best in engineering major?
Great question. I always say to students that I wouldn't say one engineering is better than another, because students have different interests and skills in engineering. So some students might prefer more of a software that has more coding, whereas other students, you know, might be super interested in automotive vehicles and they want to do a special automotive engineering program. So there's definitely a lot of great options, and it really does depend on the student's interest. Having said that, in Canada, often the first year of an engineering program is a common first year. So even if a student has applied to a special, like let's say mechanical engineering, the first year is very common courses. They're doing like physics for engineering. They're doing engineering ethics, calculus for engineers. So there is often flexibility going into second year to change your engineering major. If you get into a program and as you're learning more, you're like, oh, actually, I really wish I took electrical or whatever that might be. So that's something to keep in mind. The other thing is, once you are a professional engineer in Canada, you're a professional engineer, so you can actually work in any engineering job. So often we will have students take a mechanical or mechatronics engineering program, but then they might go and work at Bombardier, or they're in a slightly different sector than maybe what they studied, because engineers are needed in so many different capacities. So you don't always need to have this super specialized engineering program to be able to do a specific job. For example, we have Canada's only nuclear engineering program, so it is very specialized, and that's because we're located in an area that has a large nuclear power industry. Having said that, nuclear industry requires all different kinds of engineers. They don't just need nuclear engineers, they need electrical engineers, they need software engineers, because there's so many components to running a nuclear power plant. So while they do come and hire a lot of our nuclear engineering grads, they also come to us and say, well, actually, we also need electrical and mechanical grads as well. So I think it's important for students to realize that if they're an engineering graduate, they're still eligible to do all these different jobs in engineering.
Great. Carl, what do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with Shannon. And it's since Shannon and I are both in Ontario, which is the province where Toronto is located. It's like Shannon and I, our universities are about maybe 30, 40 minutes apart by car. And we have 7 different types of engineering at York. Maybe one of the more unique programs at our university is space engineering. So it's the only space engineering program in Canada, and it's a little bit different than aerospace, in that our focus is on things that will go into orbit and beyond orbit in that program. And it was actually started by one of our York University graduates who was the second Canadian astronaut to go into space. So that's like kind of the foundation, and that's why we are able to offer something a little unique. It was kind of his passion project when the program started about 18, 19 years ago. But exactly as Shannon was saying, if you're an engineer in Ontario, regardless if you're a mechanical engineer, a space engineer, a nuclear engineer, you're an engineer. And then that gives you opportunity to practice in many different areas. It's just that you've specialized in one section. But then with that foundation year, and considering the overlap between the different engineering programs, specifically in Ontario. But again, I think Kate from Concordia and Scott from Dalhousie will be able to provide more information about how things maybe work in their provinces and their universities. Speaking specifically for the Canadian context, it's whatever the student is more interested in, it maybe is the key to kind of focus on. Or another unique option would be to start your first year in engineering, and in that first year, you can figure out and kind of test a few different areas. And then in your second year, that's when you have to really choose to specialize. So for example, like we have software engineering and computer engineering at York. So it's, what are you more interested in, hardware or like deeper level programming? It all depends on what the student is interested in. We do have one of the nicest engineering buildings in Canada at our Bergeron Center for Engineering Excellence. It was completed in 2017 and is one of the most, well, maybe the most stunning building on our campus. If someone wants to look it up at some point, Bergeron Center for Engineering Excellence, quite nice. But it has state-of-the-art facilities, and for civil engineering students, there's essentially an earthquake testing machine within the building that's 4 stories tall. So students are building actual structures within the building that they're learning in. And then since it's built as a separate structure within the actual building itself, they're building real world structures and stress testing them in real world situations. So again, that's something like when students are interested in what university they want to study in, that's another like layer that they can look into about what's being offered there for this specific type of program of interest, or in this case, engineering, right? But there's no right answer, wrong answer. It's about what the student is most interested in.
You're right. You're right.
I think just if I can add something to it, I think it's always good for the students as well to check what's happening in their own country, because most likely at some point they're going to go back home, especially in the GCC right now. It's cybersecurity, it's artificial intelligence. You see a lot of job opportunities by the government. So those are type of areas that students should look into to have just a competitive edge when they're coming back. Engineering degrees, generic engineering degrees are very oversaturated. So looking into more specific degrees, new developments, or something country specific, I think is really crucial. and very essential to look into a university as well that specializes into those type of degrees and are very knowledgeable in that area as well.
Yeah, you're right, because this year is in Kuwait Scholarship, there was concentrate on cyber security. It was, I don't know, big number of students, they like to study cyber security. So you can tell me more about this major?
Sorry, was that directed at anyone, Sama?
No, for everyone. This is.
So you said cybersecurity?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a really up and coming field, and kind of has been for a few years. My institution does have a Bachelor of Information Technology in Networking and IT Security. So that's been a really popular program for us. We've run it for, I think, 12 or 15 years now. And it's so critical now because every company in the world now needs cybersecurity experts, right? Even at our own university, we have cybersecurity experts because universities are often being hacked, right? So every company needs to be able to protect themselves against that. Ontario Tech has a hacker lab at the university. So we are really specialized in that area. And the hacker lab is only available to students in the networking program. And it's essentially a safe and ethical hacking facility so that students can learn how to protect against hackers. So I always say to students who are genuinely interested in that area, there will always be jobs. And the more digital and the more virtual and electronic that we get, we know that none of this is going away. We're always going to be using phones and devices and on websites and whatnot. And there is big money in it, and there are high-profile jobs. A lot of our graduates will they'll work in Toronto if they want to stay in Canada, because Toronto is kind of that digital hub in Canada. But we have a lot of graduates that will go and work in Silicon Valley afterwards, and they're hired by big firms in cybersecurity.
Oh, well. You encouraged me to, for myself, to go to study.
You're always welcome, Sama.
Thank you. So this is a new major here in Kuwait, and I saw lots of students was asking about it, and they are interested on. So, and how about the chemistry engineer? Can I ask Scott about chemistry engineering?
Oh, yes. So certainly Dalhousie University offers chemical engineering as an option for undergraduate studies. Similar to what's been said in terms of students' interest in engineering, the first year can be an opportunity to explore their interests and find which stream they would like to go in. And if chemical engineering is one that they are interested in, then we absolutely offer that at Dalhousie University, and I'd be more than happy to share more information about chemical engineering and some of the career paths that students can take from there, as well as some of the research that's taking place at Dalhousie.
It's great. This is from the major that this year the Kuwait government are interested on. So it's one of the majors that they send lots of students to study. Also, how about industry engineering?
We don't have industrial engineering. We have structural engineering and mechanical engineering and a few others, but not industrial.
Civil engineering?
Yes.
You have civil engineering?
Yes.
Do you recommend it for a student to come to your school to study civil engineering? And why?
Well, our engineering schools ranked top 30 in the United States. Wow. So it's a very strong program, just college in general. Also just being in Seattle, a lot of our engineers end up at places like Boeing and stuff for internships. There's of course a lot of other companies in the area that they can easily do internships with. So there's just a lot of opportunity, and Seattle's very much a growth city. So I think for things like engineering, computer science, computer engineering, it's a really good place to be.
I remember there was a famous basketball player. He called Sean Kemp.
Yeah.
Oh my
I thought you
God.
were going to say Elgin Baylor, but because he went to Seattle, but
yeah. I remember he was one of my greatest basketball players. You know, when he was playing in Seattle Supersonics,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to practice in our gym.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow. Oh my God. It was, no, he was one of my best players in basketball.
Wonderful.
So this question for everyone, there's some students ask for industrial engineering. So if anyone can answer this question.
Yeah, we have industrial engineering.
Okay.
It's a pretty cool program. It kind of combines, it's more the human side of engineering. So it's looking at things, well, some examples of things in industrial engineering would be like evaluating whether a workstation is ergonomic, workflow in factories, developing layout plans for production lines, things like that. There's definitely more of a human element to it, where it's not just working with engines and mechanics and electrical wiring or computers, but there's an element of engineering humans to be efficient. It sounds a little scary, but in the most engineering, production lines to be effective, etc. Those are just some small examples of it, but it's definitely a cool program if students enjoy working with people, but are also interested in the engineering side of things.
Great. And there is a question here. Let me read it. This is for you. What is the environment like at your university? This is for you.
What's the environment like?
Yeah.
It's a good question. So it's a really exciting campus to be on. I think particularly for students who are in engineering, business, etc. They're right downtown Montreal. So they're really in the middle of everything in a vibrant city. And students do tend to spend quite a bit of time on campus. The way that our downtown campus is set up, where when you're walking from building to building, you feel like you're in the middle of the city. It's not a standalone campus. We have a metro station, there's restaurants, there's shopping all around it, but all of the buildings are close enough together. You can walk from one building to the furthest one away in about 6 or 7 minutes. So there's this little, we call it the Quartier Concordia, where it's all students just in this one little area. So everybody's connected to the university. Because we're quite large, we have about 37,000 undergrad students. It's also very vibrant in terms of student life. So if students like being involved in extracurriculars outside the classroom, they want to meet with students from around the world, they want to innovate, they want to be able to discuss and ask questions and learn from their peers and their professors. It's a really great campus for that.
Great. This is for Shannon. This is a question for you. Is your school friendly and informal or formal?
Good question. Well, we're in Canada, so I tend to think in general we're a little friendly across the country. My university is in the city of Oshawa, so we're in the Greater Toronto area, but we're a slightly smaller city, about 45 minutes from downtown Toronto. So I find that there's a really nice sense of community. We're also a little bit opposite of Concordia in the sense that we are actually a very contained campus. So we have about 10,000 students, and it's very much a traditional campus in the sense that when you drive up to us, we have the commons and we have all the buildings kind of surrounding it. So you're right on a university campus. You're not kind of in a city downtown environment. 10,000 students, it sounds like a lot. It's actually a small university by Canadian standards. And so because of that, there's a lot more interactions, with professors and staff than maybe at some other institutions. We have really small class sizes, so students actually get to know their professors, and professors get to know their students. Our professors, it's mandated in their contracts that they have to have open office hours every week. They have to respond to student inquiries. So if a student sends an email about something that happened in class, or they have a question about the content, the professor has to respond within 48 hours. So that's actually like built into their contracts, which is, I think, a really nice and positive thing. So I think we're generally friendly, and there's always people on campus who are always willing to help. I know for myself, if I walk across campus on that first week, students will stop and say, like, how do I get here? Or I'm lost, and we'll usually just walk them right to where they want to go. So I think we're generally pretty friendly.
Wow, good. Very good. Carl, there's a question for you. What is your university known for?
Oh man, where to begin? Okay, so I think I've mentioned a couple times in the chat today, we are the third largest university in Canada, and we have 11 different faculties and offer over 200 different programs. So depending on your area of interest, we're quite well known for many different things. We are in Toronto, so Canada's largest city. We are one of the largest in terms of the Canadian context, one of the older universities. We have the oldest law school in Toronto, the Osgoode Hall Law School. It's the third oldest law school in Canada. We have the Schulich School of Business, Business School, which is consistently ranked one of the best MBA programs on the planet, not just in Canada. We have very strong business administration and Bachelor of Commerce programs. In engineering, I mentioned our space engineering program as well, but we're well known, again, both for that beautiful new engineering building that we have, but our engineering programs. For our Faculty of Science, we're known as, the Faculty of Science has about 3,000 students in it, and it's known as a very collaborative, focused, research-intensive institution where undergraduate students have the opportunity to get involved in research with master's, PhD students and their professors as part of their undergrad, which is quite unique. And we have one of the most well-known prestigious art schools in Canada built into our university and our School of Arts, Media, Performance and Design. So that's where, I don't know if anyone knows Rachel McAdams. She's maybe the most famous graduate. She's, she's done so many things. She was in The Notebook. She was in The Notebook alongside another great Canadian, Ryan Gosling. But also she, maybe most recently, the most significant thing people might know her for, she played the female lead in Doctor Strange, along with Benedict Cumberbatch. So she graduated from our theater program, but also we have one of the most well-known film production and screenwriting programs in Canada as well. In Canada, or Toronto specifically, is a huge production location for many different, whether it's film or television. And often when you think you're seeing New York or Chicago in various TV shows or in movies, you're actually seeing the streets of downtown Toronto there. So it's always funny for us when we're walking around downtown Toronto, like this might sound unusual. Our mailboxes are different in Canada, and our buses look different, and our taxis look different. So every once in a while you're walking down the street, you'll see a US Postal Service mailbox and you'll be like, that's strange. And then you look around and you're like, oh, there's the cameras. Okay, I get it. Something's being filmed right now. So it's interesting. So those are just some of the highlights, but I mean, I could go on for days, but I mean, we have a whole bunch of great universities here, but those are just some of maybe the more unique things that we're most known for.
Great. Scott, the same thing, the same question. What is your university known for?
Of course. So we're certainly, thanks for the question. And we are Atlantic Canada's leading research university. And so we're also Atlantic Canada's only top 15 Canadian university research intensive institutions. So we have lots of opportunity here in the East Coast to make a big impact in the community and in the province. And so we are the largest university, so we're 19, I guess I mentioned earlier, we're 19,000 students plus. And so we have graduates within our community in Canada and internationally who are making impacts. And that includes that Canada is ranked in the top 100 for universities that are making impacts towards the United Nations sustainable goals. And so we have a lot of professors doing wonderful research, and including one of our professors who is a leading researcher working with Tesla on improving working with Tesla to improve the manufacturing. So we have lots of opportunities for students to work with these professors doing the research and to contribute to developing United Nations sustainable goals. And so we also have a wonderful law school, medicine, engineering. So we have a lot of well-known programs here in the East Coast, and a lot of great students contributing to that.
Great. Shannon, there is a question for you. What kind of emotional support is provided to international students?
Sure. So I think you'll find in Canada in general, there's a lot of really great emotional and personal supports for students. So right from when students arrive at the university, they have access to pretty much everything on campus. And so we do everything from culture shock orientation and kind of assistance. So oftentimes that's a big barrier that students have in those first few months. But we also have mental health counselors right on our campus that students have free access to. And it's been interesting, particularly since COVID, our mental health appointments with our counselors have almost doubled because students, not just international students, all students are just finding that they really need that support. And so it's really great that we're able to provide that for free to students. They also have health insurance while they're in Canada. And so they can access external health providers as well, whether it's for, something as simple as a broken bone or for emotional support services as well. So I think we're always encouraging students to get that help and ask for that help, even before they might need it, just so that they're prepared for that. And we talk about it in our international student orientation as well, because we find that sometimes, depending on the student's culture, that's maybe not something that they've ever talked about openly. And, even for Canadian students, it might not be something that they've talked about. But in Canada, I think it's generally seen as a more acceptable thing than in other parts of the world. So we always talk to students about it in orientation so that they know, like, you're probably going to face some of these challenges, and we want you to know that there's these supports available and how to access them. We also do a lot of proactive reach out. So oftentimes our academic advisors, because they know the students really well, because they're very program specific, they will sometimes reach out to a student and ask them to come in and have a meeting with them, just because they might see that the student's slipping or running into challenges, and they want to be able to assist that student before things get worse for them.
Great. Katie, the same question. What kind of emotional support is provided to international students?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like Shannon said, on our campus, you'll find similar support services available for all students, be that emotional support, academic support, career support, anything like that. And they do have access to it as soon as they start as a student at Concordia. For students who are potentially looking at starting in January, or if we're virtual again in the fall, hopefully not, but if that's the case, those supports are also available virtually for students too. So even if they're not directly on campus, they are still able to access those from the comfort of their home, which I think is really important given the time that we're in right now. But yeah, students have direct access to those. We also have an international students office who works specifically with international students in a number of different ways. Some are more logistical with things like immigration documents, applying for a visa, etc. But then there are other supports that they give too in terms of adjusting to life in Canada. They'll do walking tours around our city so students can get to know the neighborhood and get to know other students. They do potluck nights, so everybody brings a dish from their home country, all of that sort of stuff. To make sure that students also have access to a community outside of the more formal resources of speaking with a counselor or something like that.
Great. I think we have 5 minutes left for the general conversation, but we're still in the chat rooms working. It was great to see you all in the same time. Hope that we have more and more tomorrow, 7:30. And all those information, it was live in YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel was live. So lots of question came to us, and hopefully we have do a good announcement today for tomorrow. I think tomorrow will be a good day. So thank you everyone, and hope you have a good day, and waiting for you tomorrow.
Thank you, Samar.
Thanks,
Thank
Samar.
you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Good to see everyone.